So today on Beyond Scaling, our guest has lived a life of service, discipline, leadership before stepping into the world of marketing. So Sheelah, for the last 22 years, has served in the United States Air Force, raising the first sergeant and leading the well-being and development of more than 260 airmen. So that level of responsibility, I'm sure, shapes how you see people, handle pressure and teamwork and develop culture. So today, Sheelah brings those lessons into agency life as a director of accounts at WiT Group, helping to drive one of the most performance-focused marketing teams in the country. Sheelah, thank you very much for joining. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today.
No, the pleasure's all mine, I assure you. Sheelah, before we get into the business side of things, one of the things that really grabbed my attention in your About Me section in LinkedIn, I believe it was, one line that really struck me, which was, employees are the engine of an organization. Before we go anywhere, I'd love to delve into that. And people say that, right? But I understand, you've lived that. Where did that belief really come from?
Well, that nothing happens without the people who make the moves, right? It if you don't have the people and you don't take care of the people, then they're not able to take care of the organization. And so really at the core of it, that's what I believe, that's what I've experienced. And so taking care of and putting people first will then allow them to do the job or do the mission. And so when you take care of them, they will take care of what you need them to.
Yeah, that's great. And that translates from, military life to civilian life, as you would call it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's just a good way to think about people in general, right? If you have stuff, right, at home, it can very much be distracting if you're stressed about um anything that maybe there is a way to be supported more in. Right, it takes you away from the job, and so being able to support people as best you can, understand that they are people, right? Everybody's got stuff. One of my favorite phrases is "people be peoplin'," right? So, um, taking care of them and lightening that load so that they can focus on what it is that you need them to, everyone's happier and everything runs smoother.
That makes perfect sense. That really does, yeah. And I experienced some executive coaching, which was helped me be a better leader, at work. And the thing that stood out most for me through that coaching was how much it helped my family life, right? My personal life. I found myself being a better listener to my wife and more understanding to my kids. And it really helped across the board. And I think that's what you're talking about there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's quite an interesting pivot, Sheelah. If I met you at 18 and asked you, what would your life look like? Would you have predicted any of this? I know. How did the Air Force become part of your story?
Absolutely not. So when when I was coming to the end of high school, I just didn't college wasn't really on the horizon for me at that point in time. I was kind of burnt out on school, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was just kind of floating. My parents were both Army. And so my mom really encouraged my brother, who's 2 years older than I am, encouraged both of us to join, specifically the Air Force. He had gone before I did. And I remember you get that light bulb moment, but I was actually waitressing at a local seafood restaurant, and there was a waitress that was upset with another waitress. And she, was at the waitress stand. And she was just kind of fussing. And she's like, I don't know who she thinks she is. She's only been here 10 years and I've been here 12. And it hit me like a truck. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my future. Like, if I don't figure something out, like, I don't, and no offense to them or anyone in that service
No, no.
industry, we all choose our path, but that was not my path. That was not the path. That was not the life that I wanted for myself. Um, and so that was when I signed up. And of course, for me at the time, 17, actually, 17-year-old Sheelah was like, okay, this is a fast track to a career. So I'll go do my enlistment. I'll get the GI Bill and the benefit. I'll get the technical training and I'll be on about my way. And I never would have imagined that 22 years later, I would still be here. So,
Yeah, that's quite common though. Actually, a good friend of mine when I was younger, we both went to the Royal Air Force to sign up. Um,
yeah.
kind of kind of off the cuff, really. It wasn't greatly planned, and we started going through the conversations, and I was like, this isn't for me. I can't. I'm not going to do this. But he did. He went for it, and he's still there now. Man. He's been there for probably a very similar amount of time to you. Right? It's over 20 years that he's been in the Air
Yeah.
Force now. And he had the same mindset. We'll go in, I'll do the 4 years, but yeah, he's a career serviceman now, and he loves it. And it's turned him into such a wonderful adult and parent and leader. It's really shaped him because wasn't necessarily on the right track, and how that as a late teen.
Yeah. Well, and that's the conversation that I have with a lot of young people. I'm like, don't count it out, you know? And when you're young, you're scared because it feels like an unknown. You don't know what you don't know. But the military is a very unique opportunity that will take anyone who's willing to want to be a part of something bigger than their self. Right now, there are standards and requirements, but it's one of the few places that doesn't care about your background or your socioeconomic class doesn't play a part in that. They say, hey, if you want to be here, we will shape you, we will train you. You have to be a part, like you have to do your part. But essentially, come one, come all, as long as you're qualified, right? Like there are
Yeah.
outliers, but that opportunity is very unique and afforded to much more people than some of the other opportunities that are out there. And I've always appreciated that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That equality is important. When, as you say, whenever a group of people join their class, doesn't matter, and that's quite a thing in the maybe more in the UK than in the States. Even we have this class system, but when
Yep.
you're in the military, we are on equal playing fields, and
Yeah.
it makes great people. I mean, you were responsible for 260 airmen, right? I mean, that's not
Yeah.
just a job. That's a weight as well in the role you were in there. Can you take me to a moment that really shaped the leader you've become today? Is there anything you can put your finger on?
Yeah, I really think that it, of course, was my experiences as a young airman because I, as I mentioned, when I joined, did not see, um, I didn't see it long term, so I didn't take it as serious as I probably should have. And I was a little bit wild. I always showed up and did my job, but I didn't give it the reverence that I probably should have. And knowing the leaders that still treated me professionally and kindly and were great leaders, no matter how much of a pain in the butt I was being, um, I think that's the biggest reason I'm still here. Right? It's those interactions, the day to day, the camaraderie, the building the family that make you want to show up, make you able to keep showing up. And so um, that's really it. The leaders that went before me, knowing what I needed, and that I just needed a little bit of guidance on some of those things as a young airman. And that's the thing; they're not children, but they are very young, and a lot
Mhm.
of brand new airmen maybe have never left town or, left their hometown. They haven't been away from their parents. They come from all kinds of places, backgrounds, cultures, trauma, and just really meeting them where they are and seeing the person that's there, right? They're there for a reason. They signed up for a reason. Most of them want to do better, want to be better, want to make a life for themselves. And so just really tapping in to that the way that my leaders coming up were able to do that for me, I think has really been the biggest impact.
Yeah, really. And there's something about ex-military that when I'm recruiting and a CV comes across my desk and they've spent time in the military,
Hmm.
it gets extra attention because every person I've worked with that's ex-military has that stereotypical, they're up early, they operate, they've got structure, they've got that foundation and an eagerness and a keenness that you don't always find anywhere else. But there's something about the military that really shapes people into that kind of person when they leave. that something
Yeah.
you've seen and witnessed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the grit, right? Because
Yeah.
listen, I have been in 22 years and I am not a morning person, right? I've had to pass a physical fitness assessment, and done well on them for 22 years. And I don't like to run. It's about seeing the bigger picture, right? Because it's not about liking to get up. It's about getting up, showing up, doing a good job. And again, those leaders that come before you help you see that. It's not about having to run right now. It's about making sure that your values and your goals for your career, for your family, for your life in general, those are the small moments that even though that specific moment may not be it, it leads to something bigger. It's that bigger piece. And so that is a characteristic that I feel like is instilled and reinforced in the military. And you don't always get that because some people can't see past the discomfort of the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's in those uncomfortable moments I feel really shape you as a person,
Yeah.
and we're all malleable. We can all, and especially when people join the military at a younger age, like the friend who should remain nameless. He wasn't making great decisions. Let's put it that way. Neither of us were, to be quite honest with you. At the age of 18, he was a bit older than me. He was 20, but we're
Yeah.
making wise decisions. As I'm not sure many 18-year-olds are, but that
Right.
that really that really straightened him out and really, as I said, turned him into he's a far more caring person than you would imagine, and an empathetic person, and he's quite open about it as well, and he's been on
Yeah.
many tours, and he's been through quite a lot, and it's remarkable to see the man he's become, and it's a credit to the military. It really is. So
Yeah.
moving away from the military side of things, then, so you left the world of structure, uniformity, clarity, and you've moved into agency life, right? Which is
Yeah.
fast. It can be messy, creative, unpredictable even. What was the hardest part for you about that, about, sharing these both worlds? You understand you're still working in the military, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a
Yeah.
reservist, so I'm still serving in that
Yeah.
capacity.
Yeah. So what's the hardest part of that transition then? Do you and what kind of value are you bringing to the agency with that structure and, uniformity?
Yeah, so I'll say that the military I know well, and there are parameters for everyone. You get out here in the wild world, and that's not always the case. So just the way that you're able to relate to people and the things that drive people vary so much more. Of course, they vary among everyone, right? But in the military, everyone has something in common. Um, in agency, you may not be able to find at least that common ground, right? Because military, at least we all have the fact that we are military family. Agency the spectrum is much wider on that front.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can understand that. I can understand that, and you need that. I mean, you kind of need that diversity in a creative agency as well, right? And to bounce off one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, within our team, I am very blessed to be part of a phenomenal team that does feel more like family. So we are we are still considered a boutique agency. So we have a team that packs a big punch, but we are not floors and floors of cubicles like some of
Yeah,
the mega marketing agencies, if you
yeah.
will, right? So I know everyone intimately on my team. I feel like I could speak to anyone, even on a personal matter, if I needed support in that way on my team. And so getting to work with people who have that varying talent, but somehow we're all able to interlock them together to work for the betterment of our clients and be creative and handle each piece of the puzzle to help make them successful is just a really cool organization to be a part of.
That's great, and being in the heart of client relationships for yourself. I think that's essential, right? To be able to have those relationships with everybody within the organization on an intimate level surely
Yep.
makes your role more effective. It makes you, a more effective leader. What does your day to day look like? What's a real day? Not the polished version. What's the lived reality of a director of accounts?
Yeah, so I usually try to get an early start and at least, dig out of some emails pretty early, before the day officially starts, right? Any hot items, any urgent, client needs that maybe they've only sent to me. So our clients, we have lots of forms of communication, and they have a specific, um, member that works on their account directly, that they can speak with as well. But, it's just really who you feel more comfortable with, who you feel like you forged that relationship with. And so some of the clients, even if it's something like their website going down, that's maybe happened through the night, any kind of urgent need, making sure that there's nothing that is on fire in my inbox.
Yeah, yeah.
Just kind of knocking the things out early that I can so that I can focus on some of the clients that maybe have questions that are um, interested in our organization, learning more about what we do. I'm often back to back with meetings, just meeting entrepreneurs and learning what they do and figuring out how we can meet their needs and if we're a good fit, right? Because depending on it's a relationship. So
Hmm.
not everybody's made for everybody and that's okay. But we like to work with the most people. We're able to figure out some way to support them on their entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, great. And what's the makeup of your clients? Are they more startups, or is it more kind of matured companies? Where do you kind of sit yourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So we see everything across the spectrum. So we don't cater to just one type of business or, you know, just one industry, or you don't have to be a specific size. Now, of course, you have to be ready for an agency. So if you've got startup and you know what you're looking for and you have allocated budget for it, because not everybody's in a place where they're even able to afford to
Hmm.
run ads yet. And that's okay. We still have the conversation because um, that doesn't mean never. It just means maybe not yet. Right. So we still want to give the reverence to those individuals and where they're on their journey. But we have everyone from brand new service based. I just started a cleaning company. Again, as long as they are ready and have prepared themselves well, um, we can help them all the way up to billion-dollar industries. We,
Okay, yeah, so it's a
yeah,
broad spectrum.
we've worked with some pretty large companies. So we're good at what we do. And so the formula for that success is usually similar. It's tailored to each of those clients depending on their need, their industry, their objectives
Hmm.
as well. But, we are good at what we do. That skill set translates across all of those.
It's an ever-changing landscape as well, isn't it? Marketing. I was talking with a gentleman recently who had and still carries a very strong name in the marketing game. He's got tons and tons of followers, and he's so well respected. He worked at Google. He's one of these guys, and he was honest with me. He said, "Look, I haven't touched marketing. I haven't had hands-on marketing now for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on anymore." It's constantly evolving. How do you keep up with that pace there?
Yeah. So I think, like you said, he's been removed. And so the minute you take your eye away, um, it's going to keep changing and you're going to miss the changes. So being constantly involved and staying abreast of those changes, it doesn't make it feel so insurmountable. Of course, AI is one of the biggest topics right now,
Yeah.
right? And how AI is changing marketing. And this is just it feels like it's being just pushed on
Hmm.
us. I feel like in every facet just of life, not just
Yeah,
marketing.
absolutely.
But understanding that that is important to our clients, they are also trying to figure it out. Like it's our responsibility. So we do our research, our reading, everything that we do is backed by data. So some of it is, okay, how is the data affected with these things, right? So we're always doing our homework. We're always looking, reading, coming together, having those discussions internally, seeing what other discussions are being had, articles. It really is just about staying on top of the information that is available. And it's something we're all figuring out together, right?
Yeah,
No.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So Sheila, I mean, aside from this business, I work with teams fundamentally in operations and modernizing operations and in sales and service teams on a consultancy basis, and I work with AI. But
Mhm.
it's one of those things where people think it's a magic bullet. You just throw AI at something and it's going to fix all of your problems. It really isn't. If your foundations are not there and you throw AI at it, it's going to amplify the problems that you've got. It's not going to
Exactly.
solve anything. In the creative world, I think it's still a way off. I mean, I've spoken to a marketing agency recently who use it for a lot of their creatives as well. Um,
Mhm.
for me, when I read text that's written by AI, it still reads to me. There's just something about it that I can just and I've failed to explain this more times than I can count, but there's something there's something hollow there. This is missing something. I
Yeah.
can't quite put my finger on what that is, but I can sense an AI written email. You
Yeah.
know, I can just, and even if you remove the dashes, there's just something about it that feels inhumane and not inhumane. That's the wrong word, but you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, it's lacking that human element,
That's a
right?
better way
And
of putting it.
and that's the thing. It is a tool, and tools can be extremely useful. Um, but they need to be revered as such. And AI cannot solve everything. It is getting smarter and more capable every day. But AI can detect AI,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, for
And
sure.
so it's a good place to start. It's a wonderful springboard, but it is not it if you use it to completely take the place of what a person could and should do, then you can very quickly get yourself into trouble. If you have AI write 80 blogs that you publish overnight, it's not going to have the positive impact that you hope it does. In fact, often it can have the opposite. And so that's what I mean when I say you test some of this stuff and you see how it affects it, right? So as a marketing agency, we're able to say, okay, test result, test result, test result. Or even
Hmm.
some of our clients do stuff and then they're like, you know, what's happening? So we're like, well, let's figure out what's happening. And sometimes AI can be good, it can help you, it can enhance things, and sometimes it is not what you you hope that it's going to be. And it doesn't add to that credibility, right? So again, as a springboard, it's wonderful. It can help you formulate your thoughts, get them together. But if you are relying on it to do all of your thinking for you, then that is a mistake.
And I think it's dangerous. I think it's very, and I've been guilty of it. I've been working with AI now for several years, and when I first started, it wasn't really being spoken about that much. It didn't have the hype it has today. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is great. And what I was doing was using it to carry out all of my thinking. I was
Yep.
removing. I was actually, I was actively switching my brain off and just allowing AI to do the thinking for me. And it doesn't solve operational problems as well as I can solve them. I know that may sound arrogant, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it comes across as arrogant, but it can't assess and review a bit an organization's operation as well as I can with the experience
Right.
and the nuance that I have with it. But the recently, I don't know if you saw this actually. There were studies that's come out of, I think it was MIT, where they put fMRI scanners, so scanners of the brain for people who use AI for problem solving. And
Uh-huh.
there's and I won't butcher the report, but there's parts of the brain that illuminate when we're carrying out this deep thought and these deep problem solving activities, and there's parts of the brain that illuminate under the fMRI scanner. And of course, if you're not using it because of AI, then over time that area of the brain becomes less and less active, because when it comes to the brain, if you don't use it, you literally lose it.
Yeah, it'll
It actually
atrophy.
atrophy, yeah, and it degrades over time, and those neural pathways are diminished. And I think and that really got my attention. It really got my attention, and
Yeah.
now I use AI as a refinement of ideas as
Mhm.
opposed to coming up with the idea. So I'll sit down. I love
Yeah.
post-it notes. As I think in post-it notes, I'm a very visual person. So I'll stand there like a maniac, putting all these post-it notes up, and I'll rearrange them, and that's how I
Yeah.
think. And I step back. The minute I finish, I take a photograph and I pull them all down. But
Yeah.
that's how
I'm
I
the
get
same
my
way.
that's how I get my thoughts out. So now I'm back to, over the last kind of 6-12 months, back to going through, maybe a little bit longer, but back to that process of, using my brain, for the fear of it becoming diminished. And I think it's a significant risk, going into older age, if you're not using that part of the brain. And I think that's something that the public needs to be mindful of. I mean,
Yeah.
there's tons of innovative ways of using AI, and the way I always try and position it is to free up humans to do more human things. So
Yeah.
the simple example, right, is the note taker in meetings. And I'm
Yeah.
never on a Zoom call without a note taker now. Previously, I worked as a program manager in the aviation industry, and I'd be hosting meetings of 20, 25 people, and I'm constantly typing up notes and trying to stay with it. And I wasn't present in the meeting, but you're trying to keep up with conversations. That is eliminated. Now you can just sit in that meeting and be truly present and truly, engaged, and knowing that all of the minutes are being captured. That's a very simple surface level use of AI that allows you to be more human, then, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you can hear my southern accent. So sometimes the transcript even that, right? It doesn't get perfect. So yeah, using it to refine your thoughts or organize your thoughts, to give you a springboard into thinking like, oh man, I don't know where I just have this jumbled up mess of what I want. You can put it in there and it can help kind of navigate you. But I am fearful of the way that we rely more and more on things like AI and less, like you said, on humans actual doing the thinking.
Yeah.
And creatives the same way. AI can produce some really neat stuff, but you still need a person to look at it, understand the context of it, check for six toes, or, you know, what have you. And you still have to give AI that direction, like, no, not that, this.
Yeah.
And so just like any other tool, it's only as good as you know how to yield it.
Absolutely. And when it comes to more complex tools, it's only as good as the data that's going into it as well. And if the
Exactly.
data going into it isn't correct, then it's not going to work. It's going to be totally ineffective.
Right. And honestly, that's one of the conversations we have with clients. So we build websites as well. And so there's a lot of conversation around the AI chatbots.
Yeah.
And they can be really good tools. They can be really cool and they can add to your website if you give it the information it needs, if you want to take the time to train it correctly, if you have enough for it to pull from. But then you are relying on that to speak to your potential customers and not you. So it can be beneficial. It can make sense for some clients, but for some clients, it doesn't. And so just because it's this fancy new tool, it can work against you if you're not careful.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and we've all been there where we've gone on a website and the AI chatbot has popped up, and if that chatbot works well, then
Yep.
great. But if it doesn't work well, it leaves you feeling, it kind of tarnishes the reputation of the business that you've worked with. And you're right, they need to be trained. That you can't just plug it in and go and just plug in
Mm.
a generic chatbot. It needs to be specifically trained on that data. But everyone's trying to throw AI at everything at the moment. I
Yep.
worked with a client recently that came to me for an AI solution. And they really wanted AI, and the solution I came up with, it had zero AI in it. But I didn't explain that at the beginning of the presentation. I just waited till the end. I was like, so there's no AI in it. This is just a web-based app that we've built that's going to
Yeah.
remove 90% of the operational inefficiencies that you've got right now. But it's not got AI, and I could see the disappointment. They were like, we kind of wanted AI, but
Yeah.
it's not always needed. When it
Well, that's
comes to your, sorry, Sheila, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say nobody, the big thing that's being pressed is that it is the way of the future. No one wants to be Blockbuster, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we, everyone's like, oh, well, if this is it, I need it, without fully understanding it.
Yeah. That's a great analogy. I'm going to use that one. Nobody wants to be blocked out. I'm going to put that on my website. So your role there, I mean, you've got a lot on your plate. There's a lot of plates, spinning a lot of plates rather. What's the part of the role that takes more time than people on the outside would assume?
Um, let's see. I think honestly, just the following up with clients or prospective clients. So there is a lot of time, and it's very much appreciated oftentimes as well. But potential clients are all along their journey. And so there are some interested companies that I speak to and check up on for a year or years.
Hmm.
Um, and so that takes time, but it's meaningful work because especially if it's one of those startup companies that I had mentioned, maybe they weren't quite ready for a marketing agency just yet, right? They're figuring all their stuff out. They're getting their operations in order. They're getting their annual budgets in order. And so just taking the time out, even though it wasn't something that could quickly turn into an invoice to say, hey, how are things going over there? Just wanted to check in on you. And so there's actually a lot of that, but it means something to those smaller business owners that we don't forget about them. And then as they grow, oftentimes they're like, hey, you're who I want to work with because you've already invested time
Yeah.
in me and checking in on me. You didn't forget about me.
Yeah. It's
Now I'm
added
ready. And
value from day one.
yep. And now I have no question.
Yeah. 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 It's important. So that constant pipeline building essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, agency run at a pretty relentless pace. Is that the area that you feel the pressure the more? I suppose that's not really a pressure area there. Work, following them. Where do you feel that kind of pressure the most in your role? Because that's a really time consuming task you're talking about there. And I think you're right. It needs that human element to that relationship building.
I think it's always about time, right? So if I could magically squeeze more hours out of the day than I would. And some days, of course, just like everyone else's, are a little crazier than others. But I very much like you, I'm a post-it person, I'm a note person, and I love to make a list. And so that's been the thing I have done more and more recently is some of those small things, making sure that I follow up with even something simple like updating records. So
Yeah.
that's the behind the scenes part of the job, but good records are important, right? Because otherwise, when I speak to these clients that I've been speaking to for a year, it it matters that I have all of that information collected. And so between the meetings and all of the other just administrative cleanup, talking to people, reaching out, and then the networking, it seems like the minutes in the day just evaporate. And I know most people can identify with that, right? Because when you have to you have to find a time where you can turn off and turn into mom, wife, husband, daughter, whatever, wear your other hats and balance the personal portions of your life as well.
Yeah, it's challenging in roles like yours, and mine's very similar, where your work is never done. It's not
Right.
like if you're a plumber, you go to work and you got to fit a gas boiler, or you've got to plumb a toilet in, and once you've done that, you're done for the day. You can go home satisfied with it. My action log, and I'm a handwritten note kind of guy. So I'm just it just grows. It just grows. It just
It
grows.
does. I've got the work checklist because I used to have it all on one. Like just the normal house stuff, you know, get dog food, and then it'd be like follow up on this client, and it was too much. And then I was trying to do too many things at once. So
Yeah.
I found that having my two separate checklists so that I'm not trying to remember when I look at it when I'm at work to, for example, get dog food. Um, I can focus on making sure I am fully immersed in work when I'm at work and then, at home. Not to say that if I have time, I'll jump on the computer, check emails, follow up on stuff, but it's still being able to fully shift those modes has really helped. And I know my kids have appreciated that as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something I certainly struggle with, and I'm sure a lot of people do, is trying to leave it at the office, right? And being more present at home is something that I'm really focused on at the moment, actually, and it's still a work in progress because
Yeah.
my mind, and I can't help it. I wake up for the bathroom in the middle of the night, and work is on my mind. I'm never thinking about the family at 3 a.m. when I'm when I'm trundling off the loo, but yeah, and I think it's important for your own peace of mind, for your own sanity as well, right? Just to kind of have that downtime from work. I think it allows you to operate better the next day. With regards to WiT Group, if you can picture yourself, let's say 2 years from now, and you've had more success than you could have dreamed of over that course of that 2 years, and you're looking back at the last 2 years, what would be the part you're most proud of?
Uh, this is going to sound a little bit cheesy, but the relationships that I form with people, like that really is what I value the most over income, over accolades, all of that. It really is about being able to help people, especially with something as personal as your business. There are a lot of people that have put everything into starting their company. They've sacrificed time at home. They sometimes, have taken out loans, so they've taken financial risk. They blood, sweat, tears, you name it, right? They are all in on their business, and so it's a big gamble. Um, and being able to help them on that journey, be real with them, be transparent with them, and form the relationship and know that, hey, I was able to support this person in this way in making their dream a success. Really just that's what gets me. That's that's the
Yeah.
thing that really draws me honestly to the job and just that's the way that I have to focus on things to stay driven.
But I think if you get that right, the accolades and the financial side will come anyway. If you build those relationships right up front, and I can see you genuinely mean that. I can see that's true authenticity. But I think if you do that right up front, then the other things generally they'll follow anyway, right? And if you,
Yeah.
it sounds like you're focused on the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my favorite part of the job is getting to speak to people, get to know them, learn about them. It's not even just in general conversation, it very quickly you learn about people on a personal level. What their wife's name is, the fact that they maybe love ice cream or that they are a Harry Potter nerd or maybe they love Post-its, you
It
know?
means a lot.
Um
It means a lot. Yeah, it does. It carries well.
Yes.
It carries well. If you had the magic wand, Sheila, if you had this magic wand and you could remove one of the challenges that you're facing, what would you get rid of overnight?
Um, I think honestly, it's the client fears,
Mm,
um, just the economic state is something that a lot of people are I feel like they're on shaky ground with.
yeah.
And so that keeps a lot of our business owners kind of straddling the fence for a while on that. Um, and so just that solid footing, of course, I think everyone would appreciate that,
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
feeling like they had a little bit of solid ground. They knew what was going to happen, a little bit of that security. So I know that relates much larger than just the job. But that's something that we have to help um, our clients and potential clients navigate as well because they're constantly trying to figure out what is the right move. And a lot of that is based on just where we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of it's out of our control, but you don't need me to tell you this, Sheila, about marketing and the work you do. As you said, you're discussing and working and nurturing people's businesses, and marketing will make or break that business, right? Because if it's not dialed in right, it can drain them financially. But if you get it right, it makes all the difference, right? It's probably the most important thing of a
Yeah.
business right now is marketing.
And that's one of the conversations that I have with, there are some newer business owners that are trying to figure it out themselves. And it's like, you have an entire business to run. You don't have time to become a marketing expert. We have lots of brains with different focused talents, but over 20 years for several of our team members, that they have been perfecting this. And you can get yourself into trouble if you Google will take your money. These platforms,
Of
they'll take
course.
your money. If you want to pay for it, they'll take it. And I would just hate to see, even if it's a small budget, some of these businesses essentially waste it because they don't know what they're doing. It has no direction, and then sometimes they believe that marketing doesn't work, and it's like, no, you just don't know how to use this tool, or maybe your budget just really is too low.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and that's the conversation I have often. But if it is done right, it can make all the difference. It does make all of the difference. And that's why, we build out strategy that is unique to all of our clients. So, like I said, we're a bespoke agency. So, and everybody does what works for them. But there are many business models out there that it is like, okay, choose from this menu. Do you want A with this, B with this, or C with this?
Hmm.
And we don't believe in that. We say, okay, where are you? What are your objectives? Where, have you considered a ad budget? And then we build from that. I oftentimes like to relate it to getting a custom shirt, right? So you can go pull small, medium, large off the rack. It's going to cover your body, it's going to do the job, but it is not going to look as good. It's not going to feel as good. And it's not going to be made for you the same way that a custom shirt is. And so, in order to get a custom shirt made, you have to first be measured.
Yeah.
And so that's the way that we approach working with clients. We do that measurement first. So we build out that strategy together first. And then we say, hey, this is an informed plan. This isn't just, would you like this, or this?
Yeah. And I think that's value added. That's value added right there. And I approach my business with the same manner. We don't have just tools that we plug and play. It's that measurement, as you said. That readiness review first of all, and that assessment is crucial. Is crucial if you want to build something meaningful that's going to really work, and not just throw in money at something. I know, and marketing is tricky. The gentleman I work with marketing, he manages 150 grand's worth, $150,000 worth of ad spend per month, and he's
Hmm.
honest. He's like, you're not going to get it right first time. I'm not going to get it right first time. Rather, he's like, you need to A/B test. You need to run this. You need to run that, and 85% of what we produce is likely to fail. It's like, prepare yourself for that, but once you get it right and then you dial it in, then we can run with it. So it's a very similar approach. I appreciate that. Sheelah, that was a great conversation. Your story is really extraordinary. I really appreciate your time. And I think few people manage to bridge the world of service, education, and leadership and performance with this amount of humility and clarity as well. I've genuinely loved this conversation. Sheelah, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day. And I look forward to following your journey on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you, Lloyd.
Take
Bye.
care. Cheers, Sheelah. Bye.